ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our broadcast tonight. This is Psionic Aftermath, and I am Eckstein, joined by Salavanth. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. We've got a pretty good clan war today. We've got quite a good roster, if I do remember from what I've seen.
Yeah, I was just eyeing it. I'm kind of new around these parts, so still getting to know the names in the PsyX clan, but definitely remember some from the time I was here before. Excited to see them again. Looks like we got November, Snoopy, Sazerac, Banana Zerg, and Psych.
Quick tip. Not allowed to say exactly who we're playing. We're not the only ones watching, mate.
Yeah, should have a good audience here tonight.
And it's best to keep that a little bit secret, but it will be 4 Masters and 1 GM from both sides, so we should get some very high-level games going on.
Like I said, I'm new around these parts, so maybe some strategy not apparent. Nobody warned me on the confidentiality aspect.
Oh, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
That's why we're cast in pairs.
So we should be getting started fairly soon here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure all you guys are fairly familiar with esports. If you're not familiar with esports, sometimes it doesn't start on time. But still expecting a great night of StarCraft in front of us tonight.
Yep, we're getting into the group now. We've got Cuckoo Please, their admin, and I'm not sure if he's their first player or not. No, it looks like NJW Boom is their first player. I've played against him before. I tried to cannon rush, but he seems to do a blind, very early scout every game, so it did not work very well, and I got wrecked.
What race does he play? Sorry.
He's a Protoss.
Protoss. Okay. Awesome. What race do you play?
I'm also a Protoss. I can't cannon rush as Zerg or Terran much as I would like to, much as I have tried. It just doesn't work. Random does work, but only about a third of the time.
This is what I get for messing with titles and words while trying to talk at the same time.
All good, mate. All good.
Yeah. Somebody's got to play the we can use the phrase the dumb one and ask questions from time to time. And I'm excited to be here. I love StarCraft, man. StarCraft is so much fun, and I'm looking forward to asking you some questions as we watch these games and enjoy them together.
It is pretty great, and we got 4 Masters and a GM, so we're gonna see some really great games. I always love to see GM level players play. It's just we forget how few of them there really are.
Yeah, is there a numerical limit then for GM?
There are 200 in total.
Okay.
GMs at any given time.
In each region, or?
Yeah, in each region. You've got to not only have a high MMR, but you've also got to remain active. So you've got people like Neeb, for instance, a top foreigner who is not actually GM in North America because he doesn't really play on North America, even though he's got a very high MMR there. But yeah, so there's a few hundred GMs out there, but there's only a couple hundred in NA, and that's 0.2% of the population. And we forget that because they're always the ones we see in tournaments.
And I think it's important to realize in all of these esports just how hard things are sometimes, and how big the skill disparity is, even between Masters and GM and Masters and Diamond. There's still quite a lot of difference.
I tend to refer to it in terms of ass kickings. Anyone who's 300 MMR above me can kick my ass.
Yeah.
A top master is about 2 ass kickings ahead of me. A top Australian's about 5 ass kickings ahead of me. And a top pro is about 8 to 10 ass kickings away.
Yeah. That's a good way to quantify it.
So yeah, Vivid, an Australian who's near GM, he could kick the guy's ass who could kick my ass.
Yeah, that's a
and then you got
down effect.
Many more levels ahead of that.
Now, we'll see how my camera work goes here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I do enjoy running cameras, virtual and real, but I might get a little distracted here. I just did casting last time, didn't have to do the double duty of production as well, but we're going to have a fun time. Now,
Well, we're just waiting on NJW Boom to join the lobby.
Cool, cool. Now, the last clan war that I did, also partially why I was a little confused, was a setup of matches that were already kind of lined up between the different levels, and then they just played each match, and they played all 7 of them. But I saw that
Yeah.
tonight it's an all kill, so that's more a traditional team versus team, right?
Yeah, all kill is what we usually run. Pro League is a more occasional thing. I do like Pro League a great deal because it means that everyone's like match is just as important as everyone else, but it does require a pretty healthy roster if you want to get a good enough amount of matches in, because you really want like 7 people if you want 7 games. So, and both teams have to have it. Psyx is one of the biggest teams out there, but even we can have trouble filling a roster like that sometimes.
Yeah, and I saw some disconnect last time in terms of, you know, maybe what level of players are being thrown into what division, but looks like we are about to get things underway.
You want to split the intros?
Yeah, sure.
You want to go first or second?
Ooh, I'll go first on the camera, and
Alrighty.
you take over. As we're just going to finish loading up here, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Psionic Aftermath. I am your host, Eckstein, joined by Salivant, and we are going to be witnessing an awesome all-kill here up against cloudM.
First game will be a PvZ on Catalyst. Since this is a best of 9, that means that you can actually pick maps that have been used before. You just can't repeat the same map twice in a row, because that's our solution to only having 7 maps in the pool.
Right.
So we don't have to go through all 7 before we start picking again, which might be an interesting way to play it, but that's not how we've done it in the past with cloudM.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the game, and for Psionic Aftermath in the top left, it's going to be November.
And in the bottom right, representing cloudM, it is the yellow Zerg, it is QQ Please. Sushi says your mic is just a little bit low.
Oh, okay. Excellent. I will jack myself up. Thanks for the feedback, Sushi X. I want to make sure I'll pull up my Twitch chat here so I can keep an eye on you guys.
So we're seeing very, very early scouts from both players. I think this might be a cannon rush from November, and I think QQ Please knows how November likes to play. November is a bit of an aggressive player, let's just say that.
Yep.
She cheeses a lot.
Yeah.
And it's very effective, but she is just going for a gateway this time around. But QQ Please will see that pretty much immediately, knows that he doesn't have to worry about that first probe. The probe is sent there to block. Actually, I forgot that Catalyst is one of those maps where you can do that. On smaller maps, you can just block off the hatchery for quite some time by doing this annoying probe micro over here at the natural. I love to do that myself. Doesn't work on all the maps. And it looks like QQ Please might just slip by, and yes he does. He gets the hatch down about 15 seconds late, which is not that bad considering how damaging that probe can be. In the meantime, QQ Please doing the same thing, trying to pull a Protoss here and delaying that Nexus. Unfortunately, not quite succeeding, not quite knowing the timing on that Nexus, because the Nexus is only just now ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a special kind of jerk to play a proper Protoss, but it looks like we're not seeing an expansion at all. We're seeing a second gate and a cybernetics core.
And
This Overlord will see what's going on.
And November was trying to maybe find some shenanigans. QQ Please had a drone tucked by this third that was going to scout it out. He is going to put his third down as well, a little on the early side, but, you know, hasn't seen any sort of cheese from November besides that wall going down. So he figures he's going to be safe for a while there.
Well, he's going to scout the lack of an expansion, and that's going to trigger an oh no.
Yeah. She's got a couple of gates going, but, you know, still, I don't know, maybe you can give me some insights of what you think her strategy is going to be here.
I'm not sure. We do have 2 adepts on the way, so I think it could just be some sort of like mass gateway attack. And look at that pylon,
Okay. Yeah.
bold as brass, right there between the second and the third. QQ Please barely cannot see it, and I think we're going to see more gateways being thrown down.
Yeah, that's definitely a wonderful spot. A robo.
A
facility,
robo.
actually.
This is just.
Ooh.
This is so greedy from November. Surely this will eventually be scouted if by someone going to the third base. If anything, QQ Please cancels that third, so I guess I'm not sure if he sees it. He doesn't see it. He just knows. He just knows November hasn't expanded, but he sees it now, and he will kill this pylon before the robo goes up. Oh wait, no, he won't. The 2 adepts are here to defend. 2 spine crawlers are up in the main, but they need to go to the natural to help defend there.
Yeah.
As 2 shield batteries coming up from November. So this is the strategy of choice.
Yeah, this is looking like it could be really effective for her. She's found the spine crawlers now, so she's backing those acolytes back up to the first base, the expansion.
QQ Please is actually super low on workers, having lost quite a few, having built spine crawlers. November actually has the economic lead.
Oh man, and the immortal.
That's not what you want.
Halfway through building.
You generally want to have a few more workers as Zerg than the Protoss does, no matter how many workers they're going, whether they're going for like a 13 probe all in, or whether they're going for like 70 probes by 6.5 minutes. You want to have just a few more than they do, so that you can react to what they have left to make army.
Oh my, though. Take a look at that immortal of November's.
It is stuck.
Oh, wow.
So that first immortal, not going to be able to do much this game. He would have to take out. He would have to take out the Robo in order to get free. I don't even think taking out that pylon would work. But I don't think it's going to matter. The roaches are on the way, but there's just so little economy for QQ Police behind this. November's just going to run this over with repeated warpins. You really need to destroy this if you want to succeed. Ravages are on the way. Spinecrawler's trying to burrow. This could be November's chance to get some damage done, and she will go. But Roach Ravager will fend it off, and if these Spinecrawlers can start chewing away at these pylons, that could really help.
Yeah,
especially if QQ Police would have put a pylon right, a Spinecrawler right next to, like right at the edge.
Yeah, she puts down a pylon. I think she trapped that probe in there. Is that correct? Now she has a warp prism.
But there is Ravagers, so those will take out pylons quite quickly.
And the warp prism used to save that immortal, so now she has the proper 2 immortals.
Oh, November's warp prism micro is very, very good as well. So it's going to be a beautiful sight to behold. One spine crawler goes down, so does the second. Corrosive Biles will all get dodged, and the shield batteries aren't even taxed yet.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Ravagers, but there's nothing to help defend with. Oh, that warp prism takes a couple of blows. And we'll take another one. Oh, and it goes down, actually. Another warp prism will be needed.
Yeah.
But there's only Ravagers for QQ Police. The army supply is actually pretty similar for both sides. As November will take a Corrosive Bile, and it will march in. One Ravager goes down, second Ravager goes down, Force Field to try and block them off from retreating. Doesn't quite work, but it doesn't matter. They can't actually get up there. All of the Ravagers are going to go down. The Immortal's still alive, the Stalker's still alive, all of the important units still alive. This Hatchery is going to go down, and I'd say that's going to be the game. Yeah. The supply is 52 to 28. Hatchery goes down. Queens and Spines will do a last-ditch defense, but I don't think they're going to be enough. QQ Please just doesn't have the tools he needs to defend this, even with the Ravager's Corrosive Bile. It's now 1 base to 1. Not something you want. November could just expand if she wanted to, but knowing November, she's not going to want to do that. She's just going to blast up this ramp, destroy this Spinecrawler, destroy these Ravagers, destroy these Queens. Everything goes down. GG. And Syax opens up the series with a quick game.
Yeah, that was well played by November. Some nice, finely aged cheese, right? You know? Didn't really kind of seem like cheese, even though QQ Please was very cautious in the beginning. Didn't quite know where it was looking for, you know, the turret rush. In the end, it was those immortals doing the work. And was certainly worried that the cheese had failed with that first one getting stuck. But whew, thankfully she got that warp prism and was able to take care of it.
Yeah, I certainly didn't expect that, especially that incredibly aggressive proxy location. That was just that could have gone so wrong so fast. But in the end it didn't.
And also was also lucky that QQ Please went for that third hatch instead of, you know, just getting a bit more of a safe 2-base build going.
Yep, that definitely helped her out.
I think that if he had more of those resources available, then his roach count, you know, could have been able to actually mess with those immortals. Oh
yeah, definitely. Personally, I would like to see Speedlings though and try and get in and stop those shield batteries from actually getting up. Once the Protoss is set up in a position like that, it's so hard to break. And Ravagers are really good, but Roaches aren't actually very good against an immortal-based army. But I've never actually really seen that before, so I wouldn't be sure how to react to Zerg either. Not just because I can't really play Zerg.
Yeah, I am a Zerg.
I wouldn't even know in theory
Yeah.
what to do against that.
Protoss is my weakest matchup, because Zerg, I got a little bit of, intuitive knowledge of what the other guy might do. My main friend that I play a lot of StarCraft with and who trains me up and hopefully watching right now, my boy Will. He is a Terran player, so I get a lot of ZVZ and a lot of ZVT, but Protoss not so much. So
It's always great to have a practice partner who's around your level, so that when they improve, you're forced to step it up in order to keep up.
yeah, exactly.
I had a practice partner like that. Unfortunately, has stopped playing for the moment. I'm hoping that Snoopy can be that practice partner for me someday, but I've got to get up to his level first. He's a Masters 2 player. I don't think I've ever actually beaten him in a macro game.
I was mentioning that my friend who's got a lot of old school StarCraft credentials, he's been around the block, he knows how to deal with things. I play pretty well against him, but and feel like I do pretty good in the results. But I don't play too much on ladder at the moment. I need to get more games in, and so I just kind of calibrated at gold, which I was pretty happy with. And then I found out he was platinum, so then I was not happy with my gold anymore. But,
More GG, more skill.
yeah, for sure. So. Got to get those.
Just got to get those games in.
Yeah, exactly. But StarCraft, real fun. That while these guys that we're watching are super talented, it's just real easy and accessible for anybody to hop on that ladder and start climbing.
Especially with the game going free to play now.
Yeah, right. That's a good
I've got a
change.
friend recently getting back into the game himself.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he got placed into gold as well, but I think he'll be put
Nice.
into plat pretty soon because he competes with my Terran, and it's about high plat level, and he wins some of the games.
nice. Yeah, I like it for cross training. I play some other, RTS type games, and StarCraft's got just like a little something special about it that's not really going anywhere.
Oh yeah, StarCraft's definitely the best RTS series of all time. But what other RTSs do you play?
I play Dota, so I know that's not really technically an RTS. It's that genre. So I use the cross training of StarCraft mechanics.
It may not be an RTS, but it's still got a fair bit of mechanical ceiling, what with the last hits and the denies. I used to play
Yeah.
League of Legends, but with denies it makes it even more ways to try and get the edge of your opponent in that laning phase of the game.
Yeah, and there's not as many. At least feel free to correct me. My belief is that there's not as many characters or items in League of Legends that involve micromanaging other things. But in Dota, there's a few more characters that either have summonables or you can control the creeps or whatever.
Yeah, you're correct there. League of Legends has plenty of active items and such, but you don't really have units that create their own pets very much or control creeps. There's a couple of them like that, but there's nothing like the Enchanter or something, the one that can have like 4 different minions from the jungle at any time.
Oh yeah, there's Enchantress.
The one that basically, she basically does act like an RTS. There's no one that extreme in League of Legends. Basically, League of Legends are more like a more standardized version of Dota in the sense that a lot of the heroes aren't as different. No, Dota, everything's so wildly different. Like carries really carry.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what's fun about StarCraft versus maybe some other RTS those is the variety between the 3 races and what they bring to the table.
Oh yeah, it's so difficult to do that and keep balance.
Yeah.
And even though there's often some problems in StarCraft 2, I'd say overall they do a pretty good job. The game, even when the game is imbalanced, one side or the other, it's never unwinnable, despite what Twitch chat might have you believe. And we do have DeGrasse Assassin as the next player, cloudM, and this could be fireworks because DeGrasse Assassin is a very cheesy player himself. I've played against him many times back when I was Diamond. It looks like DeGrasse Assassin has actually made Masters. I should have played in this. It would have been nice to play DeGrasse Assassin again.
Yeah,
I think I've got his number at this point.
Yeah, they're throwing Zerg as the answer. They're still committed to the race against November's Cheese. They've thrown it at her twice now. November taking the top left for Psionic Aftermath once again on the Protoss.
And in the bottom right, trying to prove the old aphorism, fight cheese with cheese. We will see if that's what he tries. It is the Green Zerg, DeGrasse Assassin. And we do have a 12 pool, so I think the Grass Assassin is trying to prove that as well, but doesn't look like it's going to take a gas. So it is going to be a sort of macro-oriented cheese. Basically, for those of you who don't know at home, as I've only really recently found out, 12 pool with gas, heavily all in, kill the Protoss, rip them apart. 12 pool without gas, make the Protoss panic, force a response which hurts their economy while you expand yourself. And maybe you can just get a free win if the Protoss reacts poorly. So we'll have to see how November goes. The thing is that the 12 pool is kind of meant to delay the expansion, but I kind of feel that might just play directly into November's hands. Because I don't think November's particularly interested in expanding in the first place.
Right.
So this could play pretty well. Like, the second gate's already going up. And November doesn't know what's going on, though. Doesn't know there's no expansion. Does throw down that pylon. Is heading to the third. Beautiful Protoss BS going on.
Do have our first pack of Zerglings, and the pylon was canceled there.
Did the pylon see the Zerglings?
I think she might have. It was pretty close timing there, but I didn't have my vision correctly selected.
Cybercore does go down, but there needs to be a chrono boost on the Zealot, I feel. And yes, it looks like November has scouted it, because he's going to like full wall off, I think. Makes a pylon there so that she can just make a pylon as soon as the Zerglings show up, cancel it when necessary, and get that full wall off going. She leaves! She's gone!
Oh,
The Zerglings, they almost get in, but not quite. They need to retreat from this position and start chewing away at these buildings. An Adept will come out. But in the meantime, November hasn't expanded. Normally this would say, you know what, the 12 pool has succeeded. But November probably has something planned for one base. She's a lot more comfortable playing on one base than most Protosses.
yeah, definitely gonna be.
Will this gateway actually go down? Not quite. 2 Adepts being chrono boosted. Once they come out, this rush is over.
Yeah, I like her use of these probes here to ensure that the line holds. No Zergling.
Absolutely, I'm a scrub by comparison, so normally I just throw down a building and cancel it once I'm done with my Zealot micro, so I don't have to keep bringing the Zealot back to the wall. That does cost a few minerals.
And November does have a pylon going just on the edge of the primary base here. Warp gate.
That is
developed.
That is interesting. Again, November with a very aggressive proxies, just hoping the opponent will not scout them. But it does seem to be working out very well. It does take the Nexus now at 3 minutes. And we're going to see a Dropper Lord from the Grass Assassin. Dropper Lord's already ready. The Zerglings are in position. But there is a Stalker there. There are 2 Adepts. There is no multi-pronged attack at the front. The Zerglings are on the way now. But this isn't actually going to get much done.
Yeah, it'll be a nice little distraction. But at the same
Needs
time,
to kill the Stalker though, or else he's not even going to get out with his Overlord. It's a really good move by November. All in all, is going to take out the Overlord. Is going to take out all of the Lings. Isn't going to take any economic damage in return. Nice. November actually has the economic lead. More Zerglings coming across, but they don't have speed. Speed's only just started. This Zealot is probably going to defend. Okay, not quite. This gateway might actually go down, though. The Adepts are only just now on the way. So is the Stalker. The gateway does go down, and that leaves the Lings free reign. There are 2 pylons up here and not 1, so that's good. And they are going to surround the Zealot, and they are going to destroy it. Oh, not quite. There they go. Pause, please. I think November might have some continual hotkey problems, because she was talking about before how they reset to default. Broke Warp Gate. So when resetting her hotkeys, she didn't quite reset them correctly, which she's only just now noticed because she just tried to turn that gateway into a warp gate and it didn't work. And here we go. We're back in.
Alright, awesome. We have resumed. She's ready to go. She's got warp gates coming in.
Without speed, this Zergling class doesn't do anything, but the Grass Assassin's favorite building is warping in on the map. Well, morphing in on the map. It is the Roach Warren. The Grass Assassin is kind of a Roach Warren specialist. We have 2 proxy shield batteries in the Grass Assassin's base. This is not a sentence I was expecting to say today, but here we go. Roaches will be being made, so both these sides kind of going surprisingly well against each other, and Grass Assassin still does not see this. Who would think to scout their own main at this stage of the game? It's just not done, as we do have some sentries warping in. So these roaches, I imagine they're probably going to head out, try and get some damage done. And that's exactly what November wants. But the Grass Assassin might see the full wall off and think, hang on,
Yeah.
something's up. But that probably might just mean, oh, November knows how I like to play. But here comes the Creep Tumor. Once this Creep Tumor is done, it is going to scout what's going on. The question is, how will Grass Assassin react? He does have roaches. He has more roaches on the way, so I think he's actually going to do just fine against this.
Yeah, he's seen it.
I think he has enough roaches to just one-shot these sentries. He has seen it now.
Yeah.
The Adeptus... Oh, they're going to try and force field off the ramp!
Oh, wow.
And they do! He needs Ravagers. Ravagers will take out these force fields. One Adept does go down. He needs to focus down these sentries. Or at least force them away from the ramp so we can get the rest of his roaches up.
And starting to warp in more units significantly. 5
more roaches,
here.
more lings, and finally the roaches do get up, and I think this is just going to be held very nicely, but it's now 42 workers to 28, so the Grass Assassin's going to have to push back, get some damage done. The Grass Assassin not focused fire quite properly, but the shield batteries are about to run out, and they will. The Grass Assassin will take this down, will lose a lot of his army. Supplies are now roughly even, but the Grass Assassin with the higher army supply because November has the higher economy, and this will all get taken down. As will the pylon, as will the shield batteries, as will the gate. The Grass Assassin with 3 bases, but again, so low in workers, so he really needs to get something done. As a Void Ray comes out for November. You think November's going to go into Skytoss?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty smart transition, you know, with roaches on the field. All those roaches and the Zerglings as well could just get picked off by one ship. But the rush is going to come out now. He's just sending everything across the map, but at the same time, it's kind of a little tough.
This could also be just a defensive Void Ray, considering, like you said, the amount of roaches that are on the field. The Void Rays are very good against those roaches. They will destroy them very fast, but there's a second Void Ray on the way, which kind of indicates either November's very scared of the all-in from Assassin, respecting it a great deal, or wants to actually go into Void Rays as part of her composition. We'll have to see. If she makes a third one, that pretty much certainly indicates she wants to make Void Rays as part of her composition, because this attack isn't going to do anything.
No, not really.
Force fields are okay, but overall the roaches and lings do get that flank off. They are going to try and get... Oh, they actually get into the main, unfortunately. But that shouldn't do crippling damage to November. In the meantime, her army is very scary. She's taking a third base of her own, and she does maintain that worker lead. She's going to lose 4 workers in total, but still has 13 workers over her opponent. And is marching across the map with these Void Rays and Stalkers now. Very good anti-Roach army. And there's really not much here except Queens and Lings. They will deal with the Void Rays pretty well, but there's just not enough stuff here. Army supplies 38 to 22.
And even going to pick off an Overlord on the way over, which will supply block our Zerg player, the Grass Assassin. So
It does, and here comes the fight. Queens and Lings actually do very well against a Stalker-based army. This Void Ray will go down very quickly. And actually, I think the Grass Assassin might just hold this, but is there just too much? All of the Lings are about to go down. The Transfusers go down, but our Queen just gets melted. And November pushes forward, and I think she's going to bring this to a 2-0 in a very strange game with both sides doing their antics. Cheesy antics on both sides. Lings try and stream by, but most of them will get picked off as they try and leave.
And he just doesn't
Void Ray raining down death from the sky. Lings and roaches being made, but there's just not enough. The supply is 93 of 55. More and more workers as well as a robo on the way for November. So even if this somehow all gets wiped out, she's going to be just fine. This Void Ray is going to go down, but it doesn't matter. There's no surface area for these Zerglings. The Stalker's just going to destroy everything. It is going to be a good trade for the Grass Assassin, but he needs more than good trades right now. On 2 bases and 40 workers, he needs amazing trades as these Adepts come in to reinforce.
Yeah, and November stopped producing any air units for the moment, but at the same time, the damage was dealt. You know, she killed the queens. Queens are going to have to repopulate, and then at the same time, they're spending resources on those queens. Can't spend resources on the other units that he needs, and November is still just climbing upwards this whole time.
Grass Assassin might actually hold this, but November is macroing behind this. Up to that 60 worker economy, probably going to go into Storm, probably going to go into all that tech that most Protoss love. November doesn't seem to love it quite as much. She seems to prefer her early game moves, but still, I'm sure she can handle a late game Protoss, especially given a lead like this. Double the supply, double the workers.
Oh, yeah.
The workers are being pulled off the line, and an Oracle being created to just destroy these workers. I think Grass Assassin's just going to GG out.
Pretty much.
The economy is just ravaged.
Yeah, he
For
can't
the
mine at
grass
all
assassin.
right now.
He's got no workers left. November's continuing to do stuff. Triple the supply for November. Grass Assassin fighting out to the end, but this is, make no mistake,
Yeah.
the end. Robo Bay and a second Robo on the way for Colossi or Disruptors. It doesn't even matter which at this point.
No. Still pulling trouble on these drones. He's got a single spore crawler to help protect him, but it's just 10 drones. His now it's just his second expansion. He's going to turn it into his third again by retaking his natural. But just no drones, no economy. His supply pretty much tripled by this swarm of adepts here.
Definitely. Immortal on the way, which is good. More Immortals would be good against this Roach count, but Twilight Council on the way. All of the tech that November needs to close out this game. Doesn't even probably need any of this tech to close out this game, but wanting to make sure Lings do a run by, gets 3 workers, but going to need to do that about 20 more times in order to have a chance in this game.
Yeah.
Army supply is very even, but that doesn't tell the full story because November's army is just straight up better. With these Immortals against this just Roach Ling at this stage of the game, Roaches are very heavy in supply, they don't even have speed. They're just not going to do the job against this army that November is creating, especially with Double Robo, able to create more and more tech units, creating a Twilight Council, probably going to throw down a Templar Archive shortly after to spend that gas.
Yes.
A Colossus and an Immortal on the way, and once those are done, November might just push. I'm not sure she knows how ahead she really is in terms of economy. She must know she's ahead, but by how much? She does see a lack of drones at this base. If she is paying attention to this, if her game sense is on point. Extended Thermal Lance and Resonating Glaives on the way. Resonating Glaives, not really the kind of late game upgrade you normally want, so I'd say this is probably just going to be an Adept Colossus push, which is kind of unusual, especially at this stage of the game, but it's totally going to work. As the 4th base already done for November, it is 4 bases to 3.
Yeah,
in the Protoss' favor.
Yeah, and she had that 3rd base super saturated, and so she was just prepared to transfer workers over to the 4th base and have it fully saturated as soon as she got it up. So her economic lead is just ridiculous.
She's even getting 2 forges, like, alright, if you want to stay in the game, I'm just going to make sure I can't possibly die in the late game. I'm going to make 6 sentries.
Yeah, she's
and just make sure, alright.
Just making sure that she's getting this comfortable. I know sometimes when I play my friend and I get a pretty nice lead going, he can get frustrated sometimes when I'm playing it slow. But you know, it's easy to mess up games of StarCraft sometimes. So you got to play
absolutely,
careful, and that's what she's doing right now.
November doesn't see what we see, and may also have some respect for DeGrasse Assassin. Like, if I saw DeGrasse Assassin wasn't leaving the game, I probably wouldn't expect that I was this far ahead, because if I was this far behind, I would have just GG'd out.
Yeah.
So maybe November thinks that DeGrasse Assassin clearly thinks he has a chance, so November should respect that and not just go for an ill-considered attack. Going to go for a much more well-considered attack with Extended Thermal Lance, with 2 Colossi, with 4 Immortals and a bunch of Sentries to just wipe out everything the Zerg has. +1/+1 on the way. It's not going to be necessary. This army is unstoppable.
Yeah. There's definitely a little bit of just kind of mental fortitude going on here for cloudM and DeGrasse Assassin, just, you know, not wanting to give up easy for his team. If he was playing a larger game series, I could see him GG out, but there we go. Now he finally does. Wanted to at least give it a shot, you know, to stay in the game and fight it out, but it wasn't
quite possibly, yeah. But in the end, November just too strong. Takes the 2-0 lead. And we'll have to see, can anyone stop November? November has all killed before.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and you just see the big spikes and the difference in her resource collection rate. You know, definitely it was a nice attempt with that 12 pool, and especially, you know, he recovered fairly decently in the very beginning of the game. But then you can see just kind of her first assaults and the effect that they had on the Grass Assassin, and just wasn't able to catch up.
Are you the one making these games?
No, it's November.
Alright. I'll just have to whisper her because Sushi wants Game Heart mode on. Oh, wait, no, you have to go into your own options and turn on and change how replays are displayed to WCS Game Heart. It shows a lot more information, like workers and such at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, okay.
That's how I was able to keep telling you all that stuff.
I saw some of the death stuff, but you know, just a little getting used to my.
Like, for instance, I know if it's like 45 to 32 workers at any given moment, and thus
Yeah.
who are you? So do the streams.
You're saying there is a replay setting on that I can choose, or what did I
Yeah,
just click
there
on?
is. Let me just go into my own options and see if I can find it. Under options, observer and replay, observer interface, you want WCS 3.0. Under replay interface and observer interface, you want
Oh.
WCS 3.0.
Oh, okay, good.
I think observer interface is for live games and replay interface is for your own games being watched.
Right,
But I
right.
would put both on just in case. Nope, it's just observer interface that needs to be WCS 3.
Okay, cool. Well, switched up. So thank you so much for helping there.
All good. It's Sushi who's being our MVP from the sidelines here, watching the stream, helping us out. I'm sure I'll have many problems similar to this on my first time streaming, but I'm an Australian, I have terrible internet, I actually physically cannot stream. I was told, you know, you might be able to stream, Sal, if you got like just 3 megabytes up or something, you could probably do it. Check your speed test. 0.3 up. Yeah, I won't be streaming. It takes me 25 seconds to upload a megabyte of data.
Man, that's sad.
What is this, the Middle Ages? And cloudM using the kind of questionable, perhaps, decision to send in another Zerg as food for November. We'll have to see if Jamie is wise to these tricks. Jamie's a good Zerg. I've played against her before. You know, I had a very, very, very good match on Acolyte. It lasted like 25 minutes, mined out most of the map.
Nice. That sounds fun.
It was.
All right, we got some fans for Jamie in the house cheering her on. It's going to be November for Psionic X playing the Protoss in the bottom left.
And in the top right, trying to stem the bleeding of their team, it is the purple Zerg, it is Jamie. Can she stop November? Doesn't extract a trick to start things off. You've got to expect that she's got to be wary of something going on. The last 2 games have both involved very aggressive proxies from November, basically right outside the Zerg's creep. I would like to see Jamie have a couple of Zerglings basically on almost full-time scouting duty, though I know how difficult that is while continuing to macro at home. Even for a Masters player. A Master is sort of just starting to get good at this game. It's such a difficult game to play properly. Like, that Adept shade that the pros always do, it took me to like Diamond 2 to actually get that while still macroing at home in PvZ. That's like a part of the matchup that everyone does, and yet only like 10 to 20% of the population can actually do it without messing up at home.
Right.
That's how... and it's not because everyone's bad at StarCraft as much as that meme is a thing. It's just that being good at StarCraft isn't enough because there are so many ridiculously good players out there. We forget just how good the top masters, the grandmasters are because they get knocked out by the pros so easily, but they're actually really good. Like, I'm one of the slowest players in my division at 140 APM, but 140 APM is huge compared to a casual player.
Yeah.
I've had my silver friend who, when he goes for speedling rushes, his casual friends are like, how the hell do you have so many links so fast, even though his rush is like a minute late? That's the... and most players are like that.
Yeah, I was trying to teach my friend Zerg, and he's like, you know, tell me what to do, you know, and even just that second delay of, you know, being like, oh, you need to build this, and then, you know, I'm trying to tell him right before he needs it, and et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
But just
even
watching it, we were playing
mechanics
2v2, so watching us side by side and how quickly I was getting ahead of him, even though I was trying to tell him to do the same build. But anyway, speaking of builds, in this game, Jamie has thrown down a 3 base. We haven't seen any shenanigans from November yet, but she's scouted that 3rd base, and we'll see what that sort of prompts.
The tech building will be the next indicator. If November is playing standard, it will likely be a Stargate coming up.
Okay.
A Stargate can transition to an all-in, but it at least means for the next minute or two, November wants to play a pretty normal game. Anything else probably means some aggression coming out. But it looks like we are going to see the Stargate based on the gas count. So it looks like November will play, if not a macro game, at least a more delayed all-in, but no, just a gateway going down. So we have a lot of gas being saved up for November. We'll have to see what this is going to be.
Yeah, she still has 1 probe just hanging out in the middle of the map, kind of tucked away to the side. So that'll be something else that'll be real interesting to keep an eye on. Nothing, you know, unusual out of Jamie yet. Well, actually starting to gas up significantly. Has taken 3 gases. But it is also just sort of that time for Zerg to start getting more gas rolling.
Yeah, Zerg did open with a gasless opening, so I understand wanting to take a lot of gases at once. He's building spores and a roach warren very quickly, actually. I think she's worried about something coming out of November. Probably has watched the last couple of games, but a robo coming up for November. So this could be many different things. It could be an Immortal all-in, it could be a Charged all-in with a War Prism, it could be a Dark Shrine, a DT drop, or just an Archon drop with High Templar. Really, the Robo makes a War Prism, which is kind of like the special sauce that goes with all of the cheese. All of the cheeseburgers.
And the Adepts keeping their shade away out of the base, didn't jump into that so that they'll be able to run away from this Queen. Jamie doing a good job just fending that off. And
November getting some scouting in. And take a look at the map vision for Jamie. It is really good. Those overlords are in place against whatever might be thrown at her. She knows November likes her proxies. She knows November's a bit greedy with the placement of them. And she is fully prepared. It's only that bottom part near her fourth that could possibly be exploited in this fashion, but it doesn't look like November's going for any of that. Not going for proxies this time, but is going for an Immortal and then a second one, as well as Gladept. So this is going to be an Immortal Sentry Gladept push, most likely. As more and more gates are coming up. I recently saw this build on Build of the Week. It's being done a little bit differently by November, probably to disguise it, but it's a pretty good build. I haven't really had the chance to try it out yet, but I do want to. Because the build normally starts with a Stargate. I find that if you don't start with a Stargate, you're so weak to all-ins. That's how I got knocked out of a tournament just yesterday. I was going for an all-in, but the Zerg went for a Link Flood, and I had like an Immortal, a Stalker, and an Adept to defend, and even with a shield battery up in time, it's just not enough. You gotta have that Stargate.
So a few roaches out, a few more roaches on the way as well. Jamie just starting to get some sort of army rolling. Is getting the speed upgrade for the roaches as well as level 1 missile.
The good news for Jamie is her economy's in a good place. Remember what I said earlier, Zerg wants to have just a little bit more economy than the Protoss. This goes, and having an equal amount of workers, that's just fine when you've got an extra base, because it means that once this is fended off, if it is fended off, Jamie can produce workers very quickly, can just produce a wave of like 12 drones at once and then be economically ahead. But we are going to see what this is. This is a lot of roaches, but it's also a lot of Immortals and Sentries, which do quite well against roaches. I'd like to see a few Ravagers and some Speedlings to sort of round off this composition, but we will see how this goes. Perhaps Jamie can just destroy it with sheer numbers. Yeah. Speed is on the way. +1 will be done in time, which will be huge. Doesn't need to back away with these roaches though. Might try and go in early, try and get a flank off, get some of these force fields. Oh, the force fields are a bit late from November. The Immortals are doing so much work, but these sentries are pretty much all going to go down. One Immortal goes down, so will this Adept. Great start for Jamie in holding this, but needs to back away, needs to wait for these more roaches. Hydrogen on the way as well. Needs to take out these Immortals. There are only 2 of them left, but now the War Prism is here.
Yeah, we'll be able to see that since it's happening on creep. Jamie's still just positioning around. More roaches.
16 roaches are on the way. She really needs to buy time for these. She needs to go in, not let the force fields block her off. Good force fields from November. Jamie should probably back off for this other half with the roaches. Does do so. Good micro from both sides. Keeping those wounded Immortals alive is November. Supplies are pretty much even, but considering the roach count and how supply inefficient roaches are, more and more roaches coming in. Drones being pulled off the line. Good concave from Jamie, trying to defend, doing everything she can, getting onto this army, but the Immortals are just so strong and they will not die because of this Warp Prism. A bit of a missed attack on that, killing one of her own creep tumors, and Jamie is forced to back off. Perhaps needs more lings, is getting them now, but is it too late? Both those Immortals are still alive. That Warp Prism micro is just amazing. The Immortals getting so many kills, being MVPs here. She doesn't know. I don't think she has speed for the lings. The lings do flood in, but the supply is just so heavily in November's favor at this point. The Immortals, one of them goes down, the other forced into the Warp Prism. But at this point, it's 34 workers to 43. November's just going to continue to reinforce. This hatchery is going to go down, and I think that November may have done it. I think November has broken through. More and more roaches coming in, but look at the size of that army. You can often tell just by the visual size of the army on the screen how strong it is in StarCraft 2. That is a very good feature from the developers that I don't think anyone really talks about. But if you look at the sizes of the armies, it is just so much stronger for November. November just has the bigger ball of units here. Hydra's on the way, but even they might not do the job at this point. There's just so much here.
Yeah.
Sentries will go down. Oh, one sentry lives, but it has no energy for force fields left. This Roach Hydra, the last chance of Jamie. But November is pushing forward. She's taking out everything. GG comes out from Jamie, and November will take the 3-0.
Yeah, that was a rough one, and I mean, I thought that Jamie was going to have enough of an army there to fend that off. I noticed that Jamie got good vision of when November walked across the map, and it seemed like that initial engagement in the flank from the Roaches were really good, but just couldn't take out those two Immortals. And there was a few, obviously, fantastic micro from November, but it seemed like there was a few times where Jamie maybe missed the opportunity to focus the fire on those Immortals and get them down. So it's just turned into a rough engagement for Jamie. Had a good, economic lead for a little bit there, but just couldn't keep up with that fight, and really well executed from November.
I think it was a compositional issue. Roaches don't do very well against Immortals. I think Ravager Ling is more the way to hold this one. But Jamie did really well, but in the end it just wasn't quite enough. You saw how those Immortals just shredded the Roaches. And of course you can't, as you said, November's micro was really good, keeping those Immortals alive with War Prism. I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Okay, sounds
considering that we have a bit of a delay.
Yeah, it sounds like we do, ladies and gentlemen. With just our match getting set here for the next one. One of the players booting up StarCraft, so I as well am at least just going to rest my voice for a little bit here while we got some more matches coming up. But November off to a hot start for Psionic Aftermath. 2 members remaining for cloudM.
And I am back.
Awesome. We didn't miss anything.
So who is our next player? Ophthalmologist.
Dr. Ophthalmologist?
Perhaps, we don't know. And it is going to be a Protoss this time around. So, finally decided, hang on, let's stop sending in Zergs, let's throw in someone else.
Right.
Oh, actually, Octo might be a Terran. I might have been looking at their off race. No, Terran's definitely their off race. I'll just ask for a race check here, because I would be surprised to see Octo go Terran here, considering their Terran is Diamond level and their Protoss is decidedly not. Masters 2 level. November is very interesting because she has trouble on the ladder. In practice, I often have the advantage. But if I were to face her in a tournament, I would be terrified.
Right.
November has that thing where she just knows how to win when she has to. She plays. I think competition brings out the best in her. She plays so much better when something's on the line.
Right. I mean, that's, hopefully a lot of people, but I know some people always are really good about always playing their hardest, and some people, actually practice a little bit better when they relax a little bit, right?
Yeah, and so, I think you want to be like a little nervous, but not too nervous, just enough to get you a bit amped up.
And some of the people saying that we might be a little biased, but I do remind people that this is a Psionic Aftermath clan war on the Psionic Aftermath channel. So there's maybe a little bit of that, going on as we cheer for the Protoss in the top left, November.
Yep, I think we can be excused for a little bit of bias here, considering, like I said, this is a Psy's official channel.
Yeah.
But that said, trying to bring this match back. In the bottom right, representing cloudM, it is the Sky Blue Protoss. It is Ophthalmologist. I think that's an actual color, like teal or turquoise or something. If someone knows in the chat, let me know. Overlay.
Oh yeah, I just saw that. I'm like, I'm such a jerk. I was gonna make the point to talk about bias just a little bit more. That really, she's up 3-0, so that's why we're hyping her accolades. That if cloudM were up 3-0 and one of their players had taken out 3 people, then certainly we would be hyping them up a bit. And you know what? That is what's going to have to happen at some point here. If they're
you would? I would have been calling them a dirty cheeser and threatening to leave. Just kidding, of course. All's fair in love, war, and StarCraft, and I guess StarCraft is a little bit of both. We love this game, and it is a war game.
Yeah, no, I just like to see the results, and that's what it's going to come down to, how these people play, just raw skill, throwing it down. And
Cybercore coming out of both players. November hasn't sent any probe out for scouting or for proxying yet. Octo's making a probe now, just sending it to go scout, see what's up. November playing a little bit in the dark. Probably counting on her reputation to protect her, perhaps. Or just wanting to go for a very late scout. But in the end, Octo doesn't seem to be going for anything too tricksy. And we will have to see what units come out of these first 2 gateways. Could be Adepts, could be Stalkers. That'll determine how both sides want to play it. 2 Stalkers come out for both players. Both players want to be playing pretty straightforward. Neither side taking a super fast expansion. November sending out a scout now to see what's going on.
Yeah, and certainly November has been pretty successful with these kind of different builds that she has going on. Now she's going to be up against a Protoss, though, who can throw similar shenanigans back at her, both in terms of warp gates and warp prisms and just a different unit composition as well. So some of those transitions that she did before won't be able to find the same sort of success.
Although we do have something from Ophthalmologist that November doesn't make all that often, and that is a Stargate. So it looks like we're going to see probably an Oracle into some Phoenixes coming out of Octo, but we still don't have an expansion for either player. It looks like it'll be some Force Stalker pressure coming out of November. I wouldn't be surprised if she expanded after that, but no, she's actually making her own Stargate, which is probably one of the worst things you could actually do here, unfortunately, because Stargate versus Stargate,
how's that
Phoenix versus Phoenix, is so volatile.
Yeah, Octo, though.
Yeah, right, here's some bias towards cloudM. Yeah. cloudM has a huge advantage here because the faster you get your Phoenixes out, the better. And Phoenix versus Phoenix, if you have just 1 or 2 more Phoenixes than your opponent, you have a massive lead. And Octo is even going for a Phoenix first. I don't know if Octo has scouted this Stargate or if Octo just suspects something's up or just doesn't really like oracles. But either way, Octo is in a great position. If November makes an oracle first, this game is going to be seriously in Octo's favor.
As well as the fact that Octo's expansion is a good chunk ahead of November's. Even has that pylon and shield battery out front as well. So the defense is ready.
We do have a Phoenix and a second Stargate coming out of November. So November is a bit behind, but she has identified what this is. She's identified what she needs to do, i.e. make more and more and more Phoenixes. And Octo is going to need to do this. Oh, that probe just sneaks in, just say, hey, how you going? I'm just going to see exactly what you're up to. +1 air weapons even coming up for November, so she's prepared for the long haul for the air war. And Octo is going to need to make a second Stargate if she wants to match this. If he wants to match this. Actually, I don't know if Ophthalmologist is male or female. Unfortunately, they just sound so awkward. I wish there was a better word for this.
It's a gender-neutral profession, you know. It's accepting of all genders, you know. So we don't really know. You know, anybody can be an ophthalmologist, right?
I guess so. I blame procasters. Pretty much, almost all pro gamers tend to be male. And so usually he is what gets used, and I base my mannerisms off of these procasters.
Well, it's the world of the internet. You never really know. That is the facts of life, that males are the majority. But we're working on it. Players like November representing for the ladies, and definitely showing that they're here to game. She's taking out 3 members of cloudM, but we're going to see an engagement here.
It is 4 Phoenixes to 3, but the Stalker advantage is to Octo. So Octo is getting aggressive. Phoenixes versus Phoenixes in the air. And it looks like both sides will pretty much reset their counts. And actually, November is warping in more Stalkers, so this is actually a really good defense. And we'll take out what Octo has. And now has 2 Phoenixes. And I think that Octo is just going to have to transition out. Has never made that second Stargate. And Octo is just going to take this opportunity, having mostly reset the Phoenix count of November, to switch into probably Blink Stalkers. And get out of this Phoenix war that they are behind in. Meanwhile, November continuing to produce more Phoenixes. We'll have to identify what this is, because Mass Phoenix doesn't actually go too well against a ground army.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, November's done a good job of just like eking out a small lead through these various actions. Just picking off a stalker here, picking off a stalker there, and now she has a worker advantage as well.
And he's going to have the third advantage, taking this third right now.
Cool.
+1 air weapons up for November, so these Phoenixes are going to do quite well. But that's mostly for the Phoenix versus Phoenix battle, which is no longer happening. Charge on the way for Ophthalmologist, going into Immortals, which is surprising considering the Stalker, the Phoenix-heavy composition of November. But I guess Ophthalmologist is confident in his defense, in the 3 Stalkers and Shield Battery. He has it the main. Doesn't think he needs Blink. I admit, in most games, I tend to go for Charge first, purely because I'm not really skilled enough to get much out of Blink.
Yeah, right. And
Have you just make that Charge for the one fight. Oh, nice. Gets that probe before it can create the third base. We'll get in there. We'll take out some probes. Interesting fact, shield batteries don't work on lifted probes. So the Phoenixes can still do their job just as well. Although this Stalkers here will fend off these Phoenixes. Unfortunately, November makes a bit of a mistake. Lifts up too many probes at once. Thus doesn't get as many probes as they would like. Got to have a balance there where some Phoenixes need to be free to actually do the damage on the things you lift up.
Right. And Octo hasn't sent out another probe yet to make a new Nexus.
Yeah, making 3 gates, a War Prism, and a Templar Archives instead. Seeing this third base is completely done for November, I think Octo is just going to go for a timing attack. Probably get some Charge Lords, get some Archons, and try and break this Phoenix player. That's one of my favorite things to do against Phoenix players. Especially, like, look at how many Phoenixes those are. Against Charge Lord Archon, those aren't going to do very well. Zealots are very cheap and inexpensive, and Archons are massive units, so they cannot be lifted. There will be some Immortals to lift, but even so, I think this army is going to do quite well. Unfortunately, there is always the problem of getting backstabbed when you move out against a Phoenix army. So this is going to get so many probes. As soon as November, you've got to lift up these probes. And she does. Lifting off a couple probes, but I think wanting to save some of her energy for the upcoming fight. We'll take out a bunch of probes, but probably just going to retreat out and say, alright, you know what, I've done enough. I've forced you. If you weren't all in before, you're all in now. Let's get my units back here to defend against this push. It's going to have a lot of Archons ready. And might even not saving some feedbacks, which could be useful on those Phoenixes, but November's done a great job harassing with these Phoenixes, so feedback wouldn't even kill them. So they would prevent them from lifting stuff up. And this third base, probably just going to be sacrificed, I would say.
The Phoenix are coming back. They should be at least in the vicinity shortly here.
The Warp Prism is going to be very vulnerable against so many Phoenixes. It is probably going to get sniped at some point, but there are 4 Archons for Ophthalmologist. This is a great timing attack coming out of cloudM. Lots of Phoenixes available for November, but how good are they really going to be? They are going to be able to warp more to lift up this Immortal and these Stalkers, but the Archons are just going to I think they're just gonna, the Charge Lord Archon's just going to crush everything on the ground. There's really nothing much but Stalkers.
Yeah.
Charge is only just finishing, but look at all those shield batteries for November. Octo might just want to say, you know what, I've done enough. I'm just going to expand myself at this point. Because these Archons are also coming up. Octo does have vision over all of this. Probably sees that he can't break it. He's just going to take a Nexus himself, it looks like, sending a probe over there. Ooh, this Warp Prism is now going to go down, and I think that's going to be the end of the attack for Octo. Just wants to deny this third, I think, for as long as possible. Cannot reinforce, probably. Oh, November's trying to move out. Octo trying to get a good concave here. But November can just retreat to her shield batteries. She's got 6 of them. But 4 shield batteries is equal to a Nexus. So November has spent enough on this defense that Octo can take a third and be totally safe about it. Good concave there in case November decides to move out. Just trying to keep November back for as long as he can while taking his own third base. He can get a lead that way.
Yeah, it is going to be a bit before that third base is set up, but this contain is really nice. Just needs to make sure that doesn't somehow lose too many units when a fight happens. And November is sending those Phoenixes over, saying, okay, well, if he's just going to park the bus, I'm going to just go pick more workers off and get a nice economic lead, build a fatter army, and then just push off safely and not lose that much.
I was about to say, that's the other problem with this contain. The Phoenixes can just come back. I'd like to see Octo recall out, because he's losing so many probes here. November not quite paying attention to the Phoenixes. Could have gotten a lot more.
Yeah, and actually there's a probe transfer, and they're just bringing them over to the base to get slaughtered.
Oh, no. And November looks like she's not going to stop with the harass anytime soon. No. She's making 2 oracles out of her Stargates. And look at that economy.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's just dwindling further now, rapidly.
Did not recall back, which could have helped save a lot of these probes. You see how they do not, in fact, the shield battery can do nothing. Yeah. They're like the goggles. They do nothing.
So yeah, a third base is up, but now all of a sudden Octo finds himself with 24 workers. So,
not the kind of work count you want.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. November just now getting that third base back up, but you know.
The saving grace is that November is starting to mine out at both of her mining bases, but she's getting more gateways. She might just go for an attack of her own, but these oracles are going to be capable of getting a lot of harass done, I'd say. Phoenixes are fended away, but they are just going to go to the second base and get more and more probes. Cannons are not here at the bases for Octo.
So again, the double worker count being maintained. And as you mentioned, you know, she might be, you know, mining out at some point, but at the same time, she's just got such a nice lead that she's probably going to be able to park that fourth not long after she gets her third base up. And Octo,
I don't think she can, because November has an economic lead, but Octo's like, you know what, if you're going to kill all my workers, I'm going to kill everything you have. I'm just going to move across the map again. Look at how many Archons Octo has. These Phoenixes are going to be basically useless in this fight.
And are going to have to try to do what they can with them. And this third is going to get cancelled.
It's just Charge Lord Archon, I guess 1 Immortal, but they're not going to be able to lift off many, if any, high-value targets. So we're going to have to see how this goes. I think Octo's strategy might just be never let you get a third base.
And yeah, great intuition there. November's actually supply blocked now by 15 as well.
But these 2 oracles are just going to come in and destroy everything. No shield batteries here at this third base. All of the economy is going to be devastated.
The Phoenix is doing the same thing too.
Oh my goodness, this double pronged harass. 22 workers. Doesn't matter how many bases you have if you don't have the workers to mine from them. And November still with the economic lead, and I think Octo's going to go out for this third base yet again.
Yeah, pretty much has to deny it to really stay in this game, because if this third base can get settled, then November definitely has a chance to, you know, kind of continue to grow the army and build. But Octo, you know, needs to basically win with this army and can't really trade with it for anything less than a win.
The only real hope for this is that there are only 16 probes mining minerals right now, because both these things are mined. Actually 14 now. The main is about to be mined out. The natural is at half. If this third base goes up, that is the end of the game.
So that one got canceled, but she still has her other one going, and it's going to take a little bit of time for the Protoss to rotate over.
Oh, some stasis wards actually going off as well. This could get a whole bunch of this army, because Octo is not ready for this. Does not have an observer with the army, so here we go. Here comes the first stasis ward. Boom. gets a
Okay.
bunch of units, and we have approximately, I'm not quite sure how many it is, but I think it's about 70,000 shield batteries coming up from November.
Yeah,
As
but-
November goes in, thinking, all right, this is my chance. You've got a lot of your army stasis. They have force fields that can't move. I'm going to go in and attack. Shield batteries finishing, starting to keep these things alive. I don't know what's going on. There's so much happening on both sides of the map. More shield batteries going down. These Archons just will not die. And I think Octo might just break through, but November might also just have it retreating to the second wave of shield batteries. Charge lots going in. Archons will take it down. The 3 charge lots about to be free from Octomologist. But I think that November is pushing through. November might just have it. More and more charge lots coming through by Octo, but where are they going? What are they attacking? And it looks like there's no units left for November. The shield batteries can't heal you if you don't have any units. Oh, but some Dark Templar coming out from November. There are no observers. That Octo is going to be forced to go back. Might lose this Archon too, and in the end, that third base is at least for now secured. 2 Void Waves on the way for November, desperately trying to hold on.
All right, and now links up the army with the Observer, so Octo can engage here, but this
he's going to take out this full energy High Templar. He's going to take out these DTs. He's going to push forward yet again. The shield batteries are here, but there's nothing for them to heal, and I think the third base is going to go down, taking out these pylons. These stasis wards do go up in the middle of the buildings for November, but this Nexus is forfeit.
Yeah, we've had a crazy shift of balance here because now November's
Look at the
57.
supply now.
Yeah, I was gonna say November's 57 workers is not really an asset when Octomologist has caught up, and now she just, most of her supply is workers. It's not an army.
And the Void Waves are being healed by the shield batteries, but the Archon's doing so much damage, and they are so slow to die. The natural Nexus goes down. November's going to dive in with everything she's got. But the Charge Lot, the Stalkers, the Archons left, they're just too much. This Void Ray is going to live forever, but it eventually is going to go down. It can't kill the Archons either, and eventually the shield batteries will run out of energy. GG from November. cloudM manages to bring it back. 3-1 for Syax. A brilliant game from...
That was...
So much damage. 132 workers created that game. But in the end, it just realizing that if he kept denying the third base, that would be enough. Brilliant game sense, brilliant planning from Octo, and will take a much-deserved win. Workers died, I am not actually sure, but let's take a look. In the end, there were a total of 63 workers active, I believe, which would mean 69 workers went down that game.
Pretty nutty. Yeah, November ran out of minerals, just being stuck in her base. Really good contain. Really exciting match there. And back and forth, all sorts of wackiness there.
I thought Octo was completely dead, but Octo was like, no, there is a way for me to win this game, and I'm going to take it. And did.
Yeah, just kept losing those probes, and you can just see the chart for his resource collection rate. Really vicious, but... as we mentioned, just having a really good army, great composition with it, and just utilizing it effectively. November plays a lot of cheese games, but is a very talented player. At the same time, maybe a question of, how exactly that army comp, evolved throughout the game for her. And just wasn't quite able to, contend with the army that Octo had.
And Snoopy will be our next player, another Protoss player. I told you about him before. He's a very good Protoss. He really is. I do know what kind of build he likes to do, but I'm going to hold off on mentioning that until the game actually starts, because there's no rule about checking the stream in between games.
Right.
It would be cheating to whisper a player with advice while the game has just started, but not before the game started. That is perfectly legal. So I should just keep that a little close to the chest for now.
Right.
No, I'm interested to see what Octo decides to do for the next game.
You say he does enjoy a fine cheese?
Who, Octo? I'm not sure. This is like
okay.
my second game seeing him, I think.
Oh, okay. I know that the last match, clan war that I casted was up against a South American clan, and I Don't know much about these guys. cloudM. Could you tell me more about them? Or?
cloudM, it's difficult to sum them up, but basically we've had a lot of clan wars against them. Pretty similar rosters, actually. They used to have Grass Assassin in the Diamond slot, but recently got promoted to Masters. Congratulations. Actually, I should have congratulated him while I had the chance. NJW Boom and Jamie are kind of old hats in the Masters Masters slot. They've got a lot of Masters, but their Masters, a lot of them are still kind of developing, still up and coming. They've got a lot of M3s in their roster who are going to be looking to move up. But they are good players, and they are improving.
That's what it's about, getting those games in and, climbing up that ladder.
What I don't know is about their top end, because we've mostly had like 2 Diamond, 3 Masters clan wars. We've never had 4 Masters, 1 GM clan war with cloudM that I know of, at least not since I joined. So we're going to see some of the depth of their roster, as well as some of the top of their roster that we haven't seen before. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that, because cloudM, long-standing, friendly rivals of Psyx in these clan wars, a lot of them going 5-4, one way or another.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we are at 3-1 is the score. Octomologist getting the first kill on the board for cloudM, taking out November, who conversely got Psionic Aftermath off to a really great start here in this event tonight. Yeah,
congrats for November. Couldn't ask for more than that.
And anyways, we'll focus a little bit more on the game in hand as we got Snoopy in the bottom right as the red Protoss representing for Psionic Aftermath.
And in the top left, with an excellently executed plan to take down November, looking for a second kill against Snoopy, but might find it a little more difficult, it is Octomologist. So, now that we're in the game, I can safely tell you what I know about Snoopy. He has an adept timing off about 30 probes that is just devastating. So when he takes his expansion, keep a lookout. If he stops producing probes, that means mass adepts are likely the order of the day. And I have never once held that. Like, it is brutal. And it's hard to scout too. Even if you know it's coming, you gotta scout the natural at the right time with hallucinations and see the drone count.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, I did last try and hold it when I was still in Diamond, so I might do a little bit better this time, but even so, if you don't know it's coming, that's going to make it much harder to hold. Snoopy going out, scouting for cannon rushes, doesn't see anything. Just being cautious, taking that second gateway.
Definitely
against... Octo also taking his second gate as well.
Definitely against Protoss, as we've seen, pays to be careful up against the cheese. And Octo now going to send his probe out to see what Snoopy's up to in his doghouse.
Yep, but it looks like both sides not going for anything super aggressive. They could still do some sort of one-base tech, though most of the time if you're going to do that, you're going to have a proxy pylon on the way at the moment. So it looks like both sides probably just going to want to expand. Maybe get a tech structure before they expand, like Octo got a Stargate before. But it looks like we're going to see, if not a macro game, I don't know about if we'll see a macro game or not, but we'll at least see a 2-base game. Probably 2-base versus 2-base, getting into that mid-game. PvP is an interesting animal in that you just cannot open the same way in PvP as you can with the other races, because Protoss units are good, and if you don't have a lot of Protoss units, you just die to a lot of Protoss units.
Right.
One gate expand, you can just... I thought you just couldn't do it in PvP. That's how successful I've been at breaking them. Apparently you can, and the correct response at high level is to make a couple of adepts and make an oracle from a Stargate and basically just deny them the use of their natural for a very long time while you take your own. But at my level, you can usually just all in and break them. I've only recently run into basically a 1-gate expand specialist on the ladder who was able to stop that, and I'm like, you actually can do that if you're good enough. Interesting. But the point is, 2 gates are by far the standard. They are much less exploitable. Both sides keeping their stalkers at the ramp to get those first shots off in case more stalkers go across the ramp. Both sides very prepared to play on Odyssey, the map of 1,000 ramps. I mean, look at it. Do you have any idea how many ramps are on this game? On this map, there's like dozens.
Yeah, I like just the ridiculousness of like the 3 ramps going up to a platform. Like one ramp, they're like, oh, we need another ramp, but then like you have 2 ramps and you need 1 more. That's kind of crazy. Octo's
supposed to have a ramp that leads to another ramp.
Right. Octo's probe out on the map gets found by Snoopy's stalkers out here. So that's going to work out. Nice little sense of comfort to know he picked one off.
Both sides going for 4 stalkers. Octo electing to get that shield battery up, while Snoopy is electing to continue to produce workers. So Snoopy does have the advantage, and Snoopy is taking that Robo and that Twilight. So I think this might be the Adept build that I was talking about. But then Robo and Twilight, not exactly unusual. Snoopy getting a shield battery in his mineral line as well, but Robo and Twilight could be anything really. Robo Twilight is what you get if you want to do some nasty all-ins, and it's also what you get if you want to just tech into that mid-game in PvP. So we'll have to see. We have 7 Stalkers out for Ophthalmologist, so Snoopy definitely does not want to overextend here.
Yeah.
He's getting charge, actually, so we're not going to see that Adept build, because if it was the Adept build, it would be resonating Glaives. We do see Warp Prism cancelled in favor of an Observer. I can't speak today.
Gotta wonder about
Englishing for 25 years. Still can't get it right.
It happens from time to time. Gotta wonder if there was some mind games there from Snoopy, sending those 4 Stalkers across to try to drag these other guys back. But Octo did say, like, you know what? I like those odds, and he's gonna push in. And
he's right about those odds. Snoopy doesn't really have much. Oh man, he's gotten tech so fast that he might actually be in a bit of trouble here. Yes, building that Templar Archive ridiculously fast, building that Warp Prism, building that Charger, all of it is stuff that will pay off, but not right this second, and right this second is what matters. 2 shield batteries are up for Snoopy, and he does have some great focus fire, so I think he will actually hold this.
Yeah, and I think he's got that Observer as well, and Octo might not realize that, so Snoopy's actually super comfortable here, you know.
Oh yeah, getting a 3rd shield battery, getting an Archon, he'll be okay. Ophthalmologist, though, is taking this opportunity to get more workers, and is now taking a worker lead over Snoopy. But a pretty close game so far. Snoopy does see these Stalkers, does see they're not being reinforced, might make a couple of charge locks and just try and push in and send them away. But also looking to just hunker down. Twilight Council is coming up from Ophthalmologist now, very late compared to Snoopy, but he's getting a Forge faster. While 4 gates coming out of Snoopy, so I think we're going to see some aggression. Actually, no, 6 gates, we're definitely going to see some aggression. This is going to be some Charge Lord Archon shenanigans.
And gates just now going down for the other side, as well as the Twilight Council Forge. Just 4 additional gates to get to 6 as well. But a little bit behind Snoopy here, so we'll see.
Charge is such a good upgrade, as is +1, but neither of them are going to be ready in time for this push.
Yeah, and the Warp Prism also out on that left-hand side, so no forward pylon, but does have the Warp Prism that he can use to warp in units up front.
There will be no charge, there will be no +1. There might not be any Archons if Snoopy hits fast enough, but I think with his gates still finishing and such, he might not hit quite that fast. There probably will be a couple of Archons available for Ophthalmologists to help hold this, because the Templar Archives is nearly done. If charge gets Chrono Boosted out, it might be ready in time, but I actually don't think it's going to be. It's still about a minute away, and these charge lots and Archons are going to be heading in there right now. If Octo wants Archons, he's going to need to warp them in right this second. He's sending out a hallucination like, what's going on? And then that hallucination, if it was capable of, would have just crapped itself, because that is a lot of units coming out from Snoopy. He needs to, I think he would like, I think he should wall off if he has the time. Against Charge Lord All-ins, you do want to wall off, but he's not going to have the time to do that. He does have 3 shield batteries though, but the Archons aren't even ready yet. The charge lot's charging in. Force fields are good, but Archons can just move forward and stop those force fields if necessary. The charge lot's getting all over everything. The supply getting heavily in favor of Snoopy. He's just warping in directly in front of the base. Everything going to go down for Octo, and this is going to be a beautiful timing. It is going to take him down. There is only Stalkers and 1 Immortal left. The Immortal being chased cannot really participate in the fight. Immortal's not very good against Zealots. Everything going to go down on Ophthalmologist's side. Supply is plummeting. He's about to go into that worker line. More Zealots being warped in, but it's just not enough. Shield batteries are out of energy. Charge lots and Archons still alive. 3 Archons still here.
Yeah.
And that is GG. Snoopy will take the game with a beautifully executed Charge lot Archon timing off 2 bases. So it looks like Snoopy's updated his regimen of pushes, and I'm going to be looking at that replay later. I really like that. It's a really good build.
Yeah, it seemed like sharp timing, and you know, definitely kind of tempted Octo into kind of a false sense of security of seeing those 7 Stalkers versus the 4 Stalkers, and then Octo.
Most of my 2-base timings in PvP are, oh crap, he's got a 3rd building already. It's halfway done. Jesus, I just need to make gates and go.
Right.
But Snoopy, clearly a little more refined than that.
Yeah.
And I would definitely like to copy him.
Right. Yeah, and you can see through the charts, you know, about the 6-minute timing when Octo was still jamming out workers, and probably that was about the same time that sent that army across the map to try to at least feel like he was keeping some pressure and some contain. But Snoopy just charged right back through that and snapped up the win.
Well, it was good. It was a good contain. It did force shield batteries out of Snoopy. It did force him to be defensive. It did give the economic lead to Octo. In the end, it wasn't enough, but that Stalker move certainly didn't hurt him. It definitely helped him in that game. But Charge-Lot Archon's so hard to hold. You really need to wall off as well as those shield batteries. You need to hunker down and be prepared. But even if you do that, then Charge-Lot Archon, it's a great tech choice for later in the game, so you can just expand and take a third. It's so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, so we are 4-1 here with Psyx has been
last
rocking
guy isn't online, so I'm just going to take a couple of minutes before we go into match point.
All right, hang tight, ladies and gentlemen. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we are getting reports in the chat there, as you guys can see if you got it all pulled up. But cloudM, unfortunately, did not have their last player available here. It seems like went MIA. Maybe the first 4 matches going a little too swiftly. So unfortunately that we wouldn't be moving on and getting another game here, as we will be ending up with a 5-1 off the default.
I'm back. What just happened?
It sounds like cloudM's 5th player is not going to be making it tonight. Ophthalmologist said the guy was online, and then saying he was MIA, and then threw out the GG. So looks like it has been called.
Well, that is unfortunate. Would have liked to see cloudM's ace in action, but great play from November and Snoopy. Certainly well done out of them. We can't complain too much because we did have some pretty great games today, even if it was a bit short.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely enjoyed the variety of games out of November, and was good to see that indeed she can be defeated. Just takes a little bit of hard work, the right build. You gotta throw her off the cheese game, but that is tricky to do. She was able to get 3 wins, start Psionic Aftermath off on a nice foot of this clan war. But indeed, I think that's going to do us. So, Sylvanus, you got any last words you want to throw out there? Sylvanus, sorry.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. The next event for us will be an all-kill 2 diamonds 2 masters against All In on Friday. Thursday. Friday for me. Thursday for Americans. at the same time as this one, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have some of our strong masters in there, as well as some of our up-and-coming diamonds, who are also pretty good, just about masters level, just trying to make that last leap. And it should be a pretty good match, all in, always entertaining, and very strong. Very, very powerful clan. I've faced their kind many times in tournaments, clan wars, and on the ladder, and I've got to say, I haven't come out too well in aggregate. They definitely know their stuff.
Awesome. Well,
then we will have battle against
running it down. We got a couple more coming up, right?
Yep, we will have the VSL Validity Star League against Jamit at 5 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. 2 platinums, 2 diamonds, so we'll get to see some of our lower level players, but mark my words, they're prepared for this league. And after that, there's nothing for a few days, though we might have something going on, so we will bring you more updates as we get there, though coming up in at the end of the month will be our MVP Cup, which will be a $40 tournament, which will involve all of our best players from Psyx, Guitar Cheese, Jardoza, Psych, Jin, many of those good names. Psych and Bowman played a great pro series just the other day. So if you want to see some GM level competition, head in there.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Something on my screen started making crazy noises.
Yeah, somehow the music bot ended up there. I just muted him.
Nice. Thanks. Ooh, we got another one in here. Somebody's trolling us. So we're getting played off, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for tuning in. And, well, you can find me at X Television on the Twitters. I'll throw that in the chat here real quick as well.
And you can find me bumming off other people's streams and their superior internet.
Yeah, right.
Thank you all very much for showing up. If you haven't followed the channel, do feel free to follow it because we do have more events. We generally have at least a couple of events every single week. Psyx loves to compete, loves to show off what their players can do, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yep, and Didi, thanks so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Axstein. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.